Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today's video I will go over this heavy thing, the Qkore grounding system from Nordost. Is it any good? Is it worth you spending your money on this? Well, why don't we find out? Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Thank you for all the support. On today's video, I want to talk about my personal experience with the Qkore grounding system from Nordost. This particular unit I have here is the Qkore 6, which means just 6 connectors on the back. There's also a Qkore 3 and a Qkore 1. Okay, the number just tells you how many of these units, how many connections you have on the back for how many components. In this case, I can connect essentially 6 components, which to me is kind of confusing because this one right here, I used to connect my QB8 from Nordost, the power strip essentially. So depends how you use it. But anyway, let's talk about it. So I've had it for probably about 2 months, I would say. I've been very, very happy with it, but let me give you my initial impressions. Number one, first I introduced the QB8 Nordost power strip or power unit, however you want to call it. And it was bright. Everything connected into it gave me a lot of edginess. But of course, like anything else, you need time. The unit needs to settle in. And so I began to allow for more days to pass by before I began any sort of critical auditioning. I detected a lot more information with the QB8. I liked a lot of what I heard, but it was always a little bit edgy. I always felt as if the sound got a lot of information, but never led to long listening sessions. So I went ahead and ordered the Qkore 6. And my intent here was essentially to ground all my devices. You are creating one common ground for all your components, okay? And that to me, I never thought, I should say, in a million years that I would hear what I heard. I was not prepared to hear what I heard. First thing I heard was the floor noise was completely just cut completely. I heard so much more information coming from the back of the speakers. I heard the tiniest details, especially with those old recordings that we tend to love from back in the day. Guys, you're going to hear more than you ever thought is possible. You're one of those audiophiles who probably is saying to yourself, oh, I really do not need that. I have a lot of great power chords that let me hear all the detail and all the nuance that I think is in the music. No, you don't. No, you do not. I promise you the Qkore 6 will give you even more. You're going to hear a lot more things that are happening, okay? So first thing is the floor noise, which basically gives you far more information. Number 2. And this is a key element and one of the biggest attributes that I found with this piece, and that is far more musicality. Yes, I have no idea why, but I remember having someone in here in my room just about 18 months ago. TriPoint, I believe is the name of the company, Miguel. And I remember he brought his expensive grounding system in here, and we proceeded to listen to my Wilson audio speakers, and I remember straight out of his mouth him telling me, you're going to hear a lot more musicality, a lot more soul in the presentation. And that's exactly what I've been hearing. And mind you, at that time I was still learning things. I was still trying to understand the benefits of a lot of these tweaks. So when I heard that device that he brought, there was a huge difference. When he removed it, things went backwards. But, you know, I left that thought at that point in time. And I figure, oh, it's okay. I'll revisit that later down the road. This Qkore system, of course, it's a lot less money than his. So I would say it probably isn't at the level of his product. But when I heard it in here, the Qkore system, guys, I'm going to tell you, yes, the musicality is quite enhanced. There is just a lot more soul to the music. I feel as if I connected better with the music. And to me, it was quite impressive to hear my system do all the great things that I didn't think it had to give me. Number three, the third thing. The third thing that I feel it has given me is much more bass. Yes, guys, much more bass at any volume level. I felt that I never needed to crank up the volume in order to give it more body, more punch in the gut, if you will. The bass just became superior. Almost felt as if I had bigger woofers, if that makes sense. Number four, clarity. If you are a clarity freak, if you are about clarity with your system, if you feel your system is muddy, if it lacks high resolution, if you feel your system is veiled, if you feel there is a curtain between you and the speakers, this Qkore grounding system will absolutely take care of that. Okay, I have experienced it myself. I never felt that I needed to crank up my system. Never, guys. I kept trying to crank it up, and I always felt as if essentially there was no need for that. And I always felt as if there was just simply no need for me to blast my eardrums off when I had all the delicious sound, bass, presentation, clarity at lower volumes. I think for those of you guys who have a small place, an apartment, if you can't really crank up your volume because you're afraid of waking up the wife or your kid or your newborn or your neighbor on the other side, right? But you feel frustrated because you just want more volume and you feel that your system just falls apart at lower volumes, this system is 100% for you. Okay, it will basically resuscitate. It will wake up your system at lower volumes. Clarity will be there. The information will be there. The tweeters just have more liveliness at lower volumes. Does that make sense? You're going to hear the sizzle of the tweeters at a lower volume. And I think that that's amazing, okay, because I don't have to fatigue myself listening at louder volumes, which I am guilty of. I will say that. Okay, so if you're that person who has always been struggling, trying to get the most out of your system at a lower volume level, guys, this will do the trick. I promise you. I promise you 100% it will do the trick. Okay, so I am going to move on to what are the negatives of this grounding system. Now, keep in mind, before I go over my opinion as to what are the negatives here, okay, because I do believe every product has pros and cons. I don't care what anybody says. There's no such thing as the perfect product. Every product will have pros and cons, okay? And my job here is to simply tell you what I didn't like about it, okay? So here are the cons. Number one, guys, it is very expensive. Again, it weighs a lot. This one retails for $5,000. Very expensive system, okay? You can buy the version that only has 3 of these posts on the back, which allows you to connect 3 devices, and you can buy the one that only has 1, right? The Qkore 1 is $24.99, the Qkore 3 is $34.99, and then the Qkore 6 is $5,000, okay? It only comes with 2 cables, grounding cables. Remember, you're not done when you buy it. You still need to get your grounding cables. Now, this comes with standard grounding cables, but in my opinion, guys, you should go ahead and get the premium. So these are the premium cables. All right, these. This is 1 ground cable. 1. Okay. Now, the MSRP for a 2 meter is approximately $360. So that's a lot more money. Think about that, okay? So by the time you get 6 of these cables, you do the math. That adds cost, right? There's more cost associated if you want to do this correctly. Now, there's nothing wrong with the factory grounding cables they come with. You're still going to get a lot of benefits. There's absolutely no question. Do not feel bad when I'm saying that you can't afford to get the upgraded grounding cables, okay? Because the system is still going to do its magic. It's going to sound exceptional no matter what. If you can at least do 2 cables, one for your source and one for your preamplifier, please absolutely do it. There's going to be just much more benefits. You're going to hear a lot more of what the standard ground cables give you. So I recommend that you do at least 2. Now, another thing that I find as a con, that is the fact that, in my opinion, guys, I got the best results by using the QB8 device, right? Because I do think that you need to buy this device in order to make the system enhance even more. You're supposed to. They don't tell you this. The assumption is that you are either an owner or you're going to be ordering the QB8. And the QB8 retails for about $1,600. So you're now up to $6,600 plus the upgraded ground cables that you want. So you're looking at close to $7,500, around there, more or less. Okay, so there is another component that you need to take in consideration. Now, I know some of you guys are trying to use different devices and not necessarily do the Nordost QB8. That's fine. I'm not going to say you can't do that. You can do what you wish. But I can tell you from my point of view, my experience lies with the QB8 and the Qkore. As a unit, there is an enhanced benefit by using both. 1 + 1. I do recommend that you guys read the manual, especially for the QB8, okay? You have to make sure you connect your preamplifier, or if you're using your DAC, okay, and as a preamplifier, you have to make sure that it is plugged into the middle, the center outlet, okay, the center of the QB8, because that's where essentially the ground begins. Everything gets grounded correctly when you do that. If you remove it, you may get humming sounds, you may get buzzing, you may get all kinds of different noises through your speakers that you do not want. So make sure you refer to the owner's manual in order to get the connections right. It's very important, guys, that you guys read the manual. Now, last but not least, they also sell footers for this grounding system, which will add, and I didn't buy them, but it's supposed to add even more of everything, okay? And I simply didn't do it. I just sat mine on top of a wooden block, and I just let it sit there. I really hope that those of you who invest in this unit make it a crucial part of your system, because guys, I'm telling you again, it really does change. I wish you guys were in my room to hear the before and after. It makes your system just sound so much better. The biggest thing that I remember is just not having to crank up my volume to get everything my system is capable of. That, I think, in itself is worth the asking price. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Thank you so much for your love and your support. And until the next one, stay tuned for more.